Moin moin and welcome to Ralph's Photo Booth. Yeah, some of my viewers asked in the last days, when will you present the new Fuji? And here we are. Here is the new Fuji, the Fuji X-T1. The Fuji X-T1 is the newest model of Fuji. It's equipped with the same sensor like in the XE2 16 megapixel APS-C sensor. And yes, we have the face detection pixels in the center of the sensor. So we have the same good autofocus speed like in the XE2. On the front of the camera we have the switch to change between the different focus modes. We have the single, continuous and manual focusing. We have the connector for a studio flashlight. Then we have here the function button number 1, and we have a dial and the autofocus assist light. So let's have a look on top of the camera, and that's the most important thing of the new X-T1. It's for professional photographers and a little bit for like a retro camera, because you have not lots of dials, but you have dials for the most important functions. Here on the side we have the dial to set the ISO setting. Then you have here on this side, you have the dial for the shutter speed, exposure correction, and under the ISO dial you have a second one where you can change the different speeds from single, continuous, low, high, bracketing and so on. I will show you this later on how this will work. And under the dial for the shutter speed you can set up the different exposure modes from full to middle and spot metering. So here are the 3 different metering modes of the camera. Going to the back side of the camera, we have the buttons here, the trash replay, auto exposure lock, auto focus lock. We have a second dial, focus assist, quick menu. Yes, we have the quick menu here again, the 4-way button menu and display back. The camera has a screen which you can tilt 90 degree up, 45 degree down. It's not a touch screen, it's still a normal screen, about 1 million pixel. And the important thing, we have the electronic viewfinder, and the electronic viewfinder 2.4 million pixels. It's OLED. And the picture quality, in my opinion, is really outstanding. You have a clean, crisp, sharp, fantastic picture. It comes really close to an optical viewfinder. You won't see any pixels in the display. You won't see a. It's really almost like an optical viewfinder, and I like the electronic viewfinder of the Fujifilm X-T1 very much, and in my opinion it's the next step up the viewfinder. Coming to the grip of the camera and the surface, and there did Fuji a real good job, because the surface gives you a real good grip, but it's not sticky. The surface is absolutely perfect in my opinion. You have you can hold the camera very firm, and it's very ergonomics, the grip. You have the thumb holder on the back side, which gives you also a very good close hold to the camera. I like this one very much, and usually when I work with DSLRs, because I have real big hands, and I like the big grips of the DSLRs. So if you work like 1, 2 or 3 hours, I like the grip more. But let's be honest, this one is also perfect. It's one of the first mirrorless cameras, except maybe for the OMD. The OMD also has a real good grip and has a real ergonomic design, but Fuji, this is really the first one of the X series, which gives me a real good grip. And you have the option to put an extra battery grip with an portrait shutter release button under the camera. Here we have the connection for the extra battery grip. Here is the battery compartment, and on the side you have the compartment for the SD card. And this one I like very much because if you use tripod plates like this one, the battery compartment and also the SD card compartment, you can't reach it except you remove the tripod plate. So this is very nice because you will also, if you have it on a tripod, you can also change the SD card very easy, and so that's a really nice function. Here we have the dioptrine correction, the flash hue on top of the camera. The X-T1 has no built-in flash, but if you buy the camera you will have a small extra flash which you can put on top of the camera, but no built-in flash. Yeah, so these are the main dials and buttons of the camera. In the next part I will show the menus. I will show you how to set the most important functions. There are some differences between the X-E2 and the X-T1, and that's I want to show you in my next part of the video. Coming back to the dials, here on top of the left side we have the dial to change the ISO setting. You can set the ISO setting to automatic, and in the menu you have the choice to set up the automatic ISO settings. Here we are, ISO auto setting, and if we go to the ISO auto setting, you can set the default sensitivity, you can set the maximum sensitivity, and you can set up the minimum shutter speed. Minimum shutter speed means as long as the maximum sensitivity isn't reached, the camera goes up one step in the sensitivity each time when the minimum shutter speed is reached. So you always shoot within 124 seconds, not lower. You only get lower if the maximum sensitivity is reached. So if the maximum of 3200 is reached, the shutter speed could go down to one of 13 seconds or 60 seconds. So this is the idea behind the auto ISO control. If you want to change the ISO setting, there's a small button on top of the ISO button of the ISO dial. You have to press it and then you can turn. We have L for low, 100, and then we go to 200 and up to the maximum standard setting. That's 6400, and then we have high 1 and high 2, and there we have the next point. You can set up which is the high 1 and high 2. You go to the setup menu, and in the setup menu you have the ISO dial setting, and here you can say high 1 is 12,800 and high 2, and that's new, is 51,200. Usually the X series, the highest ISO setting is 25,600, and yes, we can go up one step more with the X-T1. We can go up to 51,200. Okay, so these are the settings of the ISO. If you go to A, what I said before, you have auto ISO. Under the ISO dial, we have a second dial, and here you can change the different speeds. You have the bracketing function, you have continuous high and continuous low, single shot, then you have multi-exposure advanced, and again the panorama mode. And in the panorama mode you can change the direction like this, and you can change the angle like this one here. We have two different angle, medium and large. And again, it's a motion panorama, so you have only to move the camera while shooting and you get the panorama. So let's go back to single mode. On the other side, as I said before, we change the shutter speed, and also here we have the automatic mode. You have to press again the button in the middle, and then you go to bulb, timer, and then starts with 1 second, 2 seconds, and so on. If the steps are too big for you, no problem, because if you look at the back side, you will see this small sign here beneath the 250, and this means you can change the shutter speed in smaller steps by working on the front dial. I show you how this will work. We have 250, and now I turn down to 200 and up to 320 and 400. So you have smaller steps with the dial here on the front side, and you have the normal steps here on the top dial, which you can change very fast. Shortest is 1/4000th of a second. Under the dial for the shutter speed, you have the dial for the metering, you have the spot metering, center weighted and full metering. Let's go have a look on top of the camera, on off switch, the button to start video, and we have here one function button. In the standard setting, it's the button to start the Wi-Fi connection, and exposure correction dial here, trash replay, auto exposure lock, auto focus lock, second dial on the back side, focus assist, I show you later how this will work, and we have the Q button, and here we have again the quick menu. Just go to the point, turn the front dial, and you can change the setting very easy, like you know this from all the other Fuji cameras. Same as the film simulation, you have standard, Velvia, and so on. One good news, again, we have the 3 different black and white settings. We have black and white yellow, black and white red, and black and white green filter. So if you have nice landscape pictures, blue sky, white clouds, you should use yellow or red to make the contrast a little bit harder and a little bit better contrast. If you want to take portraits in black and white, you should use the green filter, because with the green filter the skin tone comes very good in the black and white picture. So that's my tip, use the green filter for black and white portraits. And we have sepia at the last point. And again, we can set up sharpness, color, shadow tone, high tone. We have the self timer, face detection, flash mode, and LCD brightness in the quick menu. Here we have the 4-way button with a menu button in the middle. The menu I showed you before. I will go to the menus just in a second. And we have the display back button, which you can press, and you have the different settings, the info setting, the standard setting, and information off if you want to have the full screen for the scene. On the side of the viewfinder, we have a button which is called View Mode. Here you can set up if you want to see the picture on the LCD panel, if you want to see the picture in the electronic viewfinder, or if you want to change automatically by the eye sensor. Here is the eye sensor. So if you move the camera towards your face, the eye sensor recognizes this and switches between the LCD monitor and the electronic viewfinder. That's the button here on the side, View Mode. So let's have a look to the menu. First of all, we have no bracketing button. We have the setting here on top, but this is only to switch between the bracketing function and the different modes. To make the setting, you have to go in the menu, and in the menu you have the bracketing and advanced setting. If you go there, you have the bracketing select. So here you select the different bracketing functions. You have the AE bracketing, ISO bracketing, film simulation bracketing, dynamic range bracketing, and white balance bracketing. And the next 4 points are the individual settings for the different bracketing functions. So you have the AE bracketing, one step, one of a third step. You have the same in the ISO bracketing. You have the film simulation bracketing, where you can choose 3 different film simulations for film 1, 2, and 3. And then we have the white balance bracketing, also again 1, 2, or 3 steps. And so first of all, you make the selection how the bracketing function works. Then you choose which bracketing function you want. And if you have done this, then you have to change here to bracketing. So there are 3 steps to change. If you have set the bracketing function to the film simulation bracketing, you don't have to do this in the menu each time. Just go to the bracketing function, and the bracketing function is like you set it in the menu, then it's film simulation bracketing. But again, you have to choose in the menu which bracketing function you want. You have to set the bracket, you have to make the setup for the bracketing function, and then the activation of the bracketing function is here on the dial under the ISO dial. And also you have the advanced filters here. Here we have the toy camera, miniature, pop color, high key and low key, dynamic tone, soft focus, and the different partial color settings, and that's it. And also again, you have to choose here, for example, miniature effect. And if you have chosen the miniature effect here, you don't work in the miniature effect. You have to change here to ADV, to advanced filters, and then you work in the filter you have chosen. So that's very important. It's a little bit different that, with the X-T1 than the X-E2 and X-E1. So that's very important. First here and then activate it on the dial on top. You have the autofocus setting in the next point. Here we have the focus area, which you can choose from, but it's much easier to set this function on one of the functions button here on top front, or one of the 4 buttons here, because then you only press the button, and here we have the autofocus field, which you can move over the complete scene. If you press the back button, it moves to the center, and if you turn the dial on the front of the camera, you see we have the different sizes of the autofocus field. Yeah, can you do this also with a back dial on the camera? Both dials work the same. You can change the size of the autofocus field. Coming back to the menus, autofocus setting, that's what I said, focus area, then we have macro, then we have release focus priority, and a very nice point, very important and new also. Here you can set for autofocus single and autofocus continuous the priority selection. What means this? You can choose from release or focus. Means if you have release, the camera releases each time you press the button. Doesn't matter if the camera gets the autofocus or not, the camera will release, so you won't miss a picture even if it's unsharp. The same is for autofocus continuous. I usually work in the setting autofocus single. Here I have focus priority, because when I work in autofocus single, I want to get a sharp picture. So I want to get focus, and only if the focus is perfect, then the camera should release. And in autofocus continuous, I work in release, because usually when I work in autofocus continuous, I take pictures maybe of my running dog or cars or stuff like this. Everything which moves, I use autofocus continuous. And when I work in autofocus continuous, I know that the camera is not able to get each picture extremely sharp. So for me it's more important that the camera releases, and I can choose afterwards on the PC or on the computer which picture is good and which is not good. But I want that the camera takes pictures, and I want to take a lot of pictures in autofocus continuous. So these are my settings for autofocus continuous and single in the release focus priority. Instant AF, there I can say if the camera should work instant when I press the button, if the camera should work directly, or if the camera should wait. Next point is the AF mode, and here we have two settings. We have the area, that's what I showed you before, and we have the multi. There the camera looks in the scene where is the most contrast and focus on the point where the most contrast, and looks for a point which is not the closest but a close point to you. So that's multi and area. I usually work in area because I want to set up my autofocus point individually on the scene. Phase detection, pre-AF and AF illuminator. These are the autofocus settings. Auto ISO setting, that's I showed you before, default maximum and minimum shutter speed. Then we have the image size, 3:2, 16 by 9 and 1:1, no 4:3 setting. Then we have image quality, fine, normal, fine, raw, normal, raw and raw, that's nothing new. Dynamic range, film simulation, that's what I showed you before, standard, Velvia, Astia, Pro Negative, High and standard, and the different black and white settings plus sepia. Then we go to the self timer, 2 or 10 seconds. New with the X-T1 is the interval timer shooting. Here you can set up the interval going from 1 second up to 24 hours, and you can say how much times the camera should do this, so how many shoots you will take with the interval timer. So that's a new function. White balance, we have the different settings, auto, custom and so on. And we have, that's very important, the direct Kelvin setting going from 10,000 down to I think 3,000. Let's have a look. Yes, no, let's go deeper, down to 2,500. Okay, and you can do the individual white balance shift here on each white balance setting, so you have lots of choice to set the perfect white balance. Next point is color sharpness, highlight tone, shadow tone, that's what I showed you before. Noise reduction, long exposure noise reduction, lens modulation optimizer. Select custom settings. Here you have the opportunity to set 7 different custom settings in the camera. You can edit them, and here you have different settings. You have the you can save the current settings, and you can set up the dynamic range, film simulation, white balance, color sharpness, highlight tone, shadow tone and noise reduction. And these are the settings you can make to the 7 different custom settings. And how this will work: press the Q button, and then where you have the standard base, go to the point base, turn the front dial, and you have the different custom settings from custom 1 up to custom 7 and back to base. So here we have the different settings for the custom. Then you have the mount adapter setting. If you work with non-Fuji lenses, you have the opportunity to set up here the different lenses. And very important, shoot without lens. If you use old lenses, it could happen that the camera didn't recognize that a lens is on the camera, and so the shutter won't release. So that's very important. If this happens, shoot without lens. Please set this point to on, so the camera also will release if there's no lens on the camera, or if there's a lens on the camera which the camera doesn't recognize as a lens. Manual focus assistance, 3 options. You have standard, digital split image, and focus peak highlight. And here we have the settings, white, red and blue, in 2 different levels, low and high. I'll show you later how this will work. Next point is the AEAF lock mode. Here you have the choice between pressing and switch. So if you press the button and hold it, the camera will save the value, or if you make switch, you press it once and the camera switches in the mode and save the settings. You press it a second time and you switch it off. So these are the 2 settings, pressing or switch. Next point is the AF lock mode. Here you can decide if the AF lock mode only works for AF, also out of focus, or if the AF lock mode also works for auto exposure. That's the setting here, only out of focus. Flash mode, flash compensation, red eye removal, movie setup. Here you have the different movie modes, full HD 60 frames per second, full HD 30 frames per second, and the small HD resolution also again with 60 or 30 frames per second. Microphone level adjustment and microphone remote release, so you can decide if there's a microphone inside, or if you put a microphone jack there inside, you can take the external microphone. Then we have the image stabilizer mode, continuous or shooting only, and almost the last point, wireless communication. And here you can connect the camera with your smartphone or your tablet PC or your computer for a backup of all the pictures you have taken. And the last point in the shooting menu is aperture setting. Here you can select which dial is for the aperture setting. This is important if you use lenses without an own aperture ring. Here the XF 18 to 55 millimeter has the aperture ring, so there's no need to set up this point, and that's the reason why this point is gray. If you use other lenses, then the point isn't gray, and you can decide which one is for the setting of the aperture. Next point or next menu is the setup menu. Here we have date, time, difference, language, reset, silent mode. Then we have the sound setup, screen setup, and here is the important and interesting point, the function setting. And here we have the different functions. That's the function button number 1. That's the one here in front of the camera, is this one. Next one, function button 2, is the one on top of the camera, and then we have 3, 4, 5 and 6. These are the 4 buttons here. I use the FN1 for the focus area, so I can work very easy. Hold the camera, press the middle finger on the button on front, and then I can move the focus area with my thumb here on the back side, so that's very easy and very nice. Let's go back here to the function setting, as I said before, and you can set up the 4 buttons here also with individual functions. Command dial setting, here you can choose which one is for the shutter speed and which one is for the f-stop. Front dial, back dial. Usually I use the front dial for the f-stop and the back dial for the shutter speed. ISO dial setting, that's I showed you before, high 1 and high 2 here on the top dial. You can set up which is the high 1 and high 2 setting. focus ring, power management, sensor cleaning, and then we have the wireless setting, PC autosave setting if you want to move your pictures directly over the Wi-Fi network to your computer. Geotagging setup. This is in connection with your smartphone, so your smartphone take the geotags and then you move the geotags afterwards to the camera, and the camera put it to the pictures. One thing I should show you, I want to show you, is the work with the manual focus, and therefore to show you how the manual focus works, I use my dog picture here so I can show you how the manual focus work. First of all, you have to change the setting to M, manual focus, and if you turn the front dial, you see the manual focus dial, you see I'm in focus or out of focus, and if I press the focus assist button, you see we get the magnification, and you can turn the dial here to change between two different magnifications. And now when I turn the focus ring on the camera, you see here we have the focus peaking. It's a little bit unusual that you have the focus peaking on the whole picture, but it's a printed picture, so the camera focuses on the small printed dots, and that's the reason why the focus peaking works almost on the whole picture. And you can see you have the different magnifications, and exactly the same happens also here in the viewfinder. Also in the viewfinder we have the magnification. If we press the focus, a little bit difficult to show, but I think here we'll see it. You have the different magnification levels, and also you have the focus peaking here in the viewfinder. It's a little bit difficult, but I think you know what I mean. Next point, we have the focus peaking, what I said before, and in the menu I showed you this. We have the different manual focus assistant. That's the standard, and in the standard it's exactly the same like before. The only difference is you won't have the peaking function, but you have the magnification, and you can turn the focus dial and you will see when it's getting sharper, and again you have the two different settings just by turning the dial. Last but not least, manual focus assist, that's the digital split image, and the digital split image works only on lines which go up, which go down. It's a little bit difficult here to show because we have only the left end of the postcard, and if we go, and if we go there, and it's completely unsharp, you will see that you have here, you have not a clear line. There are some parts. Also, you see it in the eye of the dog. There are some parts which goes like this. So that's the split image, and the picture is sharp. When here you can see it also a little bit. Here you can see it also a little bit in the eye of the dog, and the picture is sharp when these lines are lined up, and then you have a sharp picture. I use the digital split image only in the electronic viewfinder because it's, in my opinion, it's very difficult to decide here on the back side of the screen if the picture is sharp with the digital split image. But if you work with the viewfinder, in my opinion, the digital split image is also very good to work in manual mode. One thing, talking about manual mode, we have the autofocus mode here, but also if you want to work not in the automatic mode, so you have the choice to set up the shutter speed and the camera will set the aperture automatically, and if you want to set both manually, just move the button here from A, from automatic, down to the sign of the aperture, and then you see we have the dark picture because we have a 4,000th of a second and f-stop 8, so we have to go up, and we have to go up also with the ISO setting. So let's go to 3200, and here we are, and now you see we have the perfect picture. So this is the choice: manual shutter speed, manual ISO setting, and manual aperture. Everything manual, and if you want to work one thing automatic, just set the aperture to automatic, and then you have the pre-choice of the shutter speed. Other way, go to aperture manually and turn the shutter speed to automatic. Here we are, and then you set up the aperture, and the camera will choose the correct shutter speed. Yes, so these are the most important menus. Yeah, one quick look to the replay menu, to the playback menu. In the playback menu, you have the different settings: erase, crop, resize. In my opinion, only a few use this one. The most important point is the wireless communication, but I think all the other points, it's much easier to work in the computer than to work here in the with a camera. Yeah, so what you have seen is my new test picture. You will find this one on Flickr. You will see the test picture on Flickr. I can zoom in here. You will see the test picture on Flickr, and so you can see how the different ISO settings, how the quality in the different ISO settings is. Yeah, so these are the most important menu points, the setting of the camera. Okay, so let's go back. Yeah, so this was my presentation of the Fuji X-T1. In my opinion, a really nice camera. I like this one very, very much because it gives you a good grip. You have everything manual. You can change the different settings very fast. It's a little bit like a retro look. You have the real good electronic viewfinder, the turnable screen. I don't miss anything. Okay, a touch screen maybe, but it's not so important. For me, very important is the viewfinder and the quality, the real good quality of the electronic viewfinder. One point I should mention, if you think about buying this camera, you have no scene programs, you have no intelligent automatic, you have nothing which helps you to take pictures. You have to do the work. You have to decide the aperture, you have to decide the shutter speed, ISO setting. There are some automatic settings, but you have to know that you have to set all the settings individually. And if you want to take sport, if you want to take portrait, if you want to take landscape and stuff like that, you should know which one is the best setting for the scene. As I said before, there are no scene programs, and you have to know how to work with a camera like this. I mean, usually when you're in former times starting photography, you know all the settings for the different scenes. But today you have so many automatic programs that there are so many photographers outside which take only pictures in automatic mode and don't know how to set up a camera for an individual scene manually. But when you work with this camera, it's very important to know this, and you get the best results only if you know how to work with a camera like this. So that's very important. I don't want to spoil your fun with a camera, but if you think about buying the camera, you should keep this in mind. That's very, very important. Okay, so that's everything about the Fujifilm X-T1. I hope you enjoyed my review. Again, it was a little bit longer, but there are many new functions and there are many interesting functions, and I hope that the in-depth review gives you a good idea how the camera works and gives you a good idea, an overview over the most important or almost every function of the camera. When you enjoyed my video, please give me a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Leave a comment here on my YouTube channel and support me with your Amazon buy or a PayPal donation. I would appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed my video. Go on my Flickr account, please, because there you will see the ISO rows of the picture for the picture quality of the camera. And if you want to read something in German, learn German, or you have a good translation, go on my internet page www.fotobude.de. There you will find lots of tips and tricks and lots of tests of other cameras. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching my video and come back again. Until now I say, as every time, moin moin.